Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Hi folks, Cesar here. Welcome back. We have got a great show this evening. I want to talk to you about Herndon, some resources for folks that are also grappling with voter restoration. But as you know, it's May. We've been dedicating the segments and the shows to Herndon, specifically because they had such a big move in the election from May to November. So typically they'd be working out the election results, but now we're pushing back to November. So I've got a couple guests. My first guest, a good friend of mine, Jeff Davidson. I understand he's been in IT for a long time. More than me, actually, 30-some years. He's spent a lot of time with the Department of Defense. His first system was a Sperry system. Tells you how far back he goes. Jeff Davidson, sir, welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here and excited to talk to you tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go too far into the IT background just because we're showing our ages, but that is a background. You are running for Herndon Town Council.
That's right.
So you've been in the town how many years? And
well, I used to be a biker, and I used to enjoy the WNOD trail. I still get out now and then.
Yeah.
And as I was riding down the trail past Crestview Drive, for those of you who know where that is, I happened to see some townhouses being built. This was 1986. Wow. Make a long story short, I bought one of the townhouses that I watched being built as I was riding.
My same story. It's the same story. Yeah.
I fell in love with them. They were well built, and I still live in that townhouse right now. For those of you familiar with Herndon, I live right by the 7-Eleven on Crestview Drive, right across from the 13th fairway and the golf course. It's a great view.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's all lit now.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be lit soon?
The WNOD trail is lit from downtown out to Ferndale Avenue right now. We were hoping to get the rest of the trail from Ferndale to Crestview lit this year. Unfortunately, we didn't get the funding that we were looking for. That'll happen next year.
Awesome.
So we're still working on that, and that should start putting those lights in next spring.
No, I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. So let's get back. This help me understand, some of the folks understand. So what compelled you? This isn't your first time running, right? You're a pro at this, right?
I wouldn't say pro. This is a local election, and sometimes it's about filling potholes. But this is the third time that I've run for council. Okay. In particular, there's a number of issues in town. I got involved with them because I was president of my HOA. And the HOA had certain issues with town, and I ended up going to the town council meetings and just became aware of what was going on in the town government, that sort of thing. There were some issues that really caught my attention at the time. These are older issues, and I decided to get really involved and find out what was going on in the town. I've done that, and since that time, I've been a docent at the depot for the Historical Society.
Sure.
I'm currently working on some signs for the Historical Society on a town committee that will be notes various events and occurrences within the town, talking about things like farming in Herndon, about the town square, about the movie theater, some of the things like that. I got involved and gave citizen input to the entrance signs that you've seen built up. They're
Love
the ones
those.
that have the stone signs, and they're lit on the top and have the railroad design, so I got involved with that design. I'm on the pedestrian and bicycle committee.
Sure.
That committee is working very hard to link all the trails up. We have a lot of trails that sort of dead end at different places, and we're trying to get them so they all work together, and they work so we can get to the places we want to get to, which are the downtown and the metro station.
Oh, that's huge, right? We've had folks come on and talk about metro. I mean, that's what's happening in Herndon, right? I mean, it's metro, right?
Yeah. I have a unique perspective on the metro, though, because we keep talking about the Herndon Metro, and we're going to have bus pull-offs, and we're working on that. We have a transportation-oriented development area around, that's 38 acres around the Herndon Metro. But over on the west side of Herndon, one of the reasons why I'm particularly interested myself is because the innovation station over by the CIT building is in Loudoun County, but it's going to affect us. I'm actually closer to that one than I am to the Herndon station. So if you've driven down Sterling Road recently, There's a new Wawa going up on the right as you're going out of the town, the new Sheetz going up on the left, and that area is going to explode.
And that's a parking lot soon, right?
And that's right in the area, the neighborhood where I live, and a lot of people live there. When we made the changes that improved the traffic flow for traffic that was on Herndon Parkway going out Sterling Road and added the second left-hand turn lane, we knew that at the time that was going to be a temporary solution. And as things explode and Davis Drive from Sterling is brought over to Sterling Road, we're going to have a lot more traffic over there. We're going to have a lot more traffic on Herndon Parkway. So those are the kinds of things that are local, particularly in the west side, that I think make me unique among the different candidates. And you might have I've been talking to the other candidates already. You might have heard a couple of people talking about 2 metro stations affecting Herndon. And that's the message I've been trying to get out.
Sure.
And that relationship with Loudoun County is key to addressing it.
So what are some of the other things? I mean, because Metro's big. I mean, that's going to take up this much time, right? But what do you hope to do? You know, what's your feeling or impact? What do you hope to really promote or drive as like an initiative, or you want to champion?
Well, I guess you could call it transportation in the larger sense, in that not only vehicular transportation and getting people on Herndon Parkway or some of the other routes that are going to come around. You know, one of the things that's never happened that is controversial in town, but I've always supported, is finishing the extension of Wheelie Avenue. Where it stops on Drainesville Avenue, Drainesville Road, it just dead ends, and you might have wondered why as you go by and see there. But that would take some pressure off of Herndon Parkway, which is going to be incredible as we get this continued building just over on our side of town.
It's a long-term project, though.
That's a long-term project. There's lots of roadblocks that are in the way for doing that, but that's the kind of thing that we'd like to see long-term. And as far as transportation, that's automobile transportation. We know we have new roads. I mentioned Davis Drive is going to come through to Sterling Road. There's going to be a new network of roads within the development around the CIT building, so we need to look at those. But from where I live, what I need is a way to either ride my bike or to walk to the Innovation Station.
Safely.
Safely
walk. Because there are people that walk Herndon, but it's not entirely safe when you cross some of those roads, am I right?
That's right. You know, just last Tuesday night at the Herndon Town Council meeting, there was a resident who lives on Sterling Road inside the Parkway. The Herndon Parkway, between Eldon Street and the Parkway. And that's a residential street. It's an odd street.
Frogger, by the way, trying to cross there. People do it.
At 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the afternoon when the traffic's bumper to bumper, it's very, very difficult.
The speed limit's supposed to be 25. People aren't doing 25 there when it's clear. When it's packed, they're obviously not moving, but people do cross there. That's
and you have to go a long way to find a safe place to cross. So we need another place. That's part of what the PBAC, or Pedestrian Bicycle Committee, is all about. And certainly making trails for the bicycles that not necessarily follow roads, but their own trails. And we have a lot of little pieces in Herndon. We're trying to link those up. We work with Fairfax County so that our plan within Herndon matches and is part of their plan for bicycle movement within the town. So working hard on transportation, that's probably the big area that I would point to as the one thing. But there's a lot of different things under that and a lot of different efforts that contribute to improving transportation. We also have an idea of how to make, in the very larger term, this is probably a couple decades down the road, but improve sustainability, that the town of Herndon can actually have an impact on what occurs in the town as far as things that are sustainable or not sustainable, and try to give incentives to do things that are sustainable over the long term.
Well, let me put solar panels on my roof. That'll be rocking and rolling.
There's one of the things we can do.
Sure. So switch topics a little bit, because we talked about May being traditionally the town election. There was a recent decision to move it to November. Where did you come down on that, and what were your thoughts around moving the election from May to November?
Well, to be honest, Cesar, by the time I got to speak about it, somebody else had taken all the really, really good reasons for doing it.
Because I spoke on it too.
Yeah,
okay,
you were probably one of those people who did.
Okay.
So I had to come up with something different as a good reason for moving it.
Okay.
And the thing I came up with that nobody else thought about, and I'll take sole credit for this, was the signs of spring went away. It used to be we would get dozens and dozens of complaints from citizens because we would still have campaign signs up in Herndon right now that were little drips and drabs if we had had the elections earlier this month. But we moved them to November, and all the signs will be at the same time.
Okay.
Now, there are bigger reasons, but that's the only unique one I could think
Okay,
of.
I hadn't heard that, but okay. That's good, that's good. But on the merits itself, I mean, I spoke on it. I just assumed that more people voting was a good thing. So, I mean, in terms of the whole...
I'm moving away from
but you know what I mean?
Has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, but so good in the sense, right? More people and
Well, I think that's the American way. We want people to vote. We want people to participate in our democracy. And the way you participate is to vote in the elections. And I don't think there's any problem with making it easier for people to vote, and that's essentially what we did, because they're going to probably be at the vote, or we know from history and voter records in the past, that people turn out for the presidential election. That's what we had this year, so we're going to have hopefully more people in the voting booth looking at a ballot that has lots more names on it, and they're going to realize that these are for town council, these are for mayor. Those are the people that actually, on a day-to-day basis, affect my life, affect my car's potholes every day.
The contrarian view was, well, we want to keep the focus on Herndon, and we only want certain people that care about Herndon to vote. I didn't understand that.
Well, I think in past elections you've probably heard this phrase that Herndon's not a farm anymore. And certainly after the Civil War, farming was the primary means of making a living in Herndon, and then it became a resort, so to speak, with the train bringing people from Washington out to the cool suburbs. And then later on we became professionals and career-oriented. And as the town has changed, help me, I lost the train of thought here. Where was I going with that?
You were going with the election.
With the election.
Contrarian view, keep it in May.
And, well, I really lost that train of thought, but keeping it in May kept the electorate down to the people who were very familiar with it, very concerned. They tended to be the same people over and over again. By moving it to November, we get a lot more people involved. That's what we need to do. I hear the music.
Yeah? Oh, you want, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. What I'd like to do is show my sign. You'll see these signs. They're not going to be spring. They're going to be in the fall. And please vote for me when you see the sign.
All right, folks. Jeff Davis said, thank you, buddy. We'll be right back.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Wanted some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about nothing very nice. Holy smile. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Why don't you just wash your car at home?
When I wash my car, everything runs down the street and down into the storm drains. With all the chemicals in the soaps and waxes, the last thing I want to do is poison my own drinking water.
At least here, it's all contained and recycled on site.
That's why I also take my car in for oil changes instead of doing it myself. I might take a chance on spilling stuff.
You know what the best part is?
What?
More time to kick back and watch the game.
Hey, Lena, where's yours?
Would you notice if you were missing half your kidney function? According to the National Kidney Foundation, 20 million people have chronic kidney disease, and 20 million more may be at risk and not even know it. Anyone with high blood pressure, diabetes, or family history of chronic kidney disease is at risk. Early diagnosis is vitally important. To get the whole story, talk to your doctor and visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org or call for a free brochure. Because when it comes to chronic kidney disease, you might not know the half.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar back here. Thank you for joining us for our second segment. My next guest is a dear friend of mine. She's lived in Herndon for 20-some years. She'll correct me on that. She's been involved with the Chamber and also on the board of the Council for the Arts of Herndon, which is where we met. She's been the executive director since 2012. She's served in a lot of different capacities. Quite frankly, I could read the list, but Signe, you decided to run for council.
I did.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Why the heck did you decide to do it?
Well, so there are a lot of new things coming down the pike in Herndon, and as you just heard Jeff say, transportation is a big issue, but my biggest concern is the downtown redevelopment. And as you of course know, the town has had the opportunity to buy a very large piece of property that can be redeveloped in whatever way the town sees fit. And I'm very excited about that because one of the parts of that is a downtown arts center.
Now enlighten us. Why is that so cool? For the people that don't know Herndon, there was a segment of property. It was once separate. It was brought together, town purchases, and the town has put out proposals for development.
Yes, and they've gotten some very interesting bids. Right now, I think they're deciding between two. One is, what is the name of that company?
Not important.
It is
Company
important. Comstock and Stout and Teague are, they're deciding between the two. And I'd like to be involved. I'd like to see, make sure that the town stays small and adorable in the center and big and high tech in the outside. The two arts organizations in Herndon recently merged together after years and years of trying to create a new arts center.
So there was a council for the Arts of Herndon and the
Foundation, which ran Art Space of Herndon.
Okay.
Herndon
and now
Art Space.
there's the single entity
called Arts Herndon.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm currently the executive director. And the mission has been for a long time to build an arts center, and now it looks like it can actually happen, which has everybody so excited.
Coolness factor just raised
super
up in
cool,
Herndon.
right?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's. I saw the preliminary plans, folks. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's going to be really nice to have that in downtown Herndon, Old Town Herndon, right?
Right, so. In a cute little nugget of the center of the downtown.
Is this your first time running?
I've never run for any office before, so.
Are you nervous?
Not really nervous. This is kind of the next logical step. I have been involved in civic organizations in Herndon for seems like many, many years. I work with the Rotary on children's issues. We're looking at hunger. We're trying to improve education. And through my work with the different civic organizations, I've become more aware of what needs to be done. There are lots of big jobs to be done in Herndon, and they're being addressed beautifully by the current council. I'd like to join them and help out however I can. So.
That's
pretty exciting.
A powerhouse lineup. I mean, you've got Mayor Merkel, you've got the Vice Mayor, you've got
all amazing people.
Grace and Sheila, and all women, by the way.
Yes.
That seem to have, in my humble opinion, the right sort of vision and mission for the town.
I like the vision. I like what Mayor Merkel has spearheaded in the town. It's already becoming much more livable. And part of my interest is in developing the economics of the downtown, because if we have cool, interesting little businesses, people are going to want to hang out in the downtown. And the more people hang out, the more friendly, the more walkable it is. I mean, I moved to Herndon because it was a walkable town, because it was accessible. We only had one car at the time, so I could walk to the bus and take the metro into DC where I was working. I could walk to the post office and the town hall and the grocery store, and I love that, and I don't want that to change. I just want it to get better. So
cool.
Yeah.
So you heard me ask our previous guest, Jeff. There was the big controversy in Herndon, right? May election versus November elections. Was that a big deal for you? Did you like one way or another, or?
So there was a lot of discussion going on at the time, and there were some issues that were more important to me than others. But I think having the opportunity for more people to know about the town, to know that they live in a town, because I think a lot of people who live in Herndon aren't really aware that it's a separate town and it has its own town council.
Are you finding that people don't know there's a town council?
People, yes. Yeah. And the more you know about your town, the more you can help, you can take advantage of opportunities. And so I think having the election at the same time as the presidential, senatorial, and so forth means that people are going to see the mayor and the town council on the ballot. And if they don't already know, this is going to be inspiration to find out. And it was amazing to me when I realized how important the town council is for your everyday life in the town of Herndon, as I think Jeff said. So more people voting is in itself important. More people being aware that they live in a town is so important. Yeah. So,
well, it just I always love hearing from people that have lived in a town for a while. Granted, there's a lot of folks that move in, but when you mention there's a town council, they're surprised. It's like
they are.
Yeah, there's a town council. You get to vote for them,
and people have said to me, "I can't believe your mayor is so accessible." You know, my brother, who lives in a small town in Vermont, came to my house and saw that we had a calendar. I mean, it's a small thing, but he said, your calendar tells you everything you need to know, where to get your, where to get your trash pickup, and where to talk to the mayor, and where to, everything that you ever need to know. The town is trying to get out there to you, and they've done a lot of great things in the past few years. The Dine on Herndon, which is to support our local restaurants. We have something like 180 independent restaurants. It's amazing.
Of every ethnic background.
Ethiopian food and Indian food and Pakistani food, and I mean, just amazing restaurants. And another thing they've done is the new town website, which is very accessible. And it's even, you can translate it into your own language, which is in a very diverse population like ours, incredibly great thing. I lived as a military wife abroad in Italy, and as a foreigner, it was incredibly frightening. Just the smallest, if you get a traffic ticket, there it is on your car, you have no idea what it says. What does it mean? What are the ramifications? To be able to translate our website is key. Being a foreigner is hard. You don't want to make it worse.
I don't know. Kind of sensitive there. You care about people.
Oh, well.
That's a good thing.
I like people. What can I say?
No, that's great. What do you think some of your challenges are as you go? Because if you've never campaigned before, you're going to run into some challenges. Have you given any thought to some of the things that you might be grappling with here?
I try not to worry too much about what might happen. So since I haven't gone around and campaigned yet, I don't know what the problems will be. So I'm trying not to anticipate problems where there aren't any. I asked Mayor Merkel if she encountered any difficulties when she was going around. She said people were incredibly nice. So all I want to do is go around, find out what people are interested in, ask them for their vote. Please vote for me.
Yeah, gotta knock on doors.
Gotta knock on doors, find out what people are thinking, and with any luck, I think this is going to be great. I'm not frightened at all.
Well, there's, I think, 11,000 registered voters and some
That's a lot of people.
I don't know, 8,000 households or something. So better get to knocking because we got the whole summer.
I know. Well, I've been the person whose door has been knocked on, so I know the work that those people put in.
You know the shtick. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
definitely.
I'm looking forward to it.
What are some of the other things that, if you had a wish list to bring to the top of the priority bucket list for Herndon? Because there's Friday Night Live. I mean, that's stuff.
Friday Night Live is fantastic. The downtown redevelopment, which I've talked about, is going to bring to the forefront a lot of issues. The Herndon Festival. I'm on the Herndon Festival committee. Everybody's kind of trying to figure out where we're going to go.
Should that move somewhere?
It's probably going to have to move somewhere because where we do it right now is right in the center of town, and that's going to be developed.
The businesses.
Well, that's a big issue, and I think a lot of the businesses have just given up and closed for the festival because they can't. Their customers can't get to them, And, you know, that's unfortunate, but people adore the festival. We have about 80, I think last year they said 88,000 people came to the festival. Oh. Yeah, we have concerts on 3 different stages. There's arts and crafts. The Council for the Arts, or now Arts Herndon, runs a crafts booth. And all the civic groups in town try to raise part of their budget by selling various different things during the festival. So, yeah, it's huge. There's going to be no place to park. So I think they may have to move it. I hate to say this because I live over there, and the festival can take up a lot of space, but they'll probably need to move it over by the community center at some point, or someplace that has a big parking lot.
Open space over there, right? You're not really impacting.
It's sort of open. I mean, it will destroy ball fields. So that's, you know, people who have been studying this longer than I will probably come up with something good. I think the festival goers like being in the downtown, but that may not be an option. Yeah. So we'll see.
Because I've spoken to some of the business owners there, and their number one complaint is their customers can't come in, and the people that do come in just want to use the restrooms.
Right.
And
which creates kind of a mess.
Like,
yeah.
Why are we open?
A couple years ago, some local businesses came to the festival committee, and I have to admit, as a chamber, as I was then the head of the Herndon Chamber Committee, and I encouraged them to come and speak about their needs at the festival meeting. And the festival committee did try pretty hard to accommodate their needs, but realistically the logistics don't allow it. And so I think people gave up after that year because, you know, if with the best will in the world the festival committee couldn't make it easier for them, you know, maybe they should just close for that weekend. So it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, but if you're a business and tend to...
You know, there's a great bridal business in town, and they stay open. They were staying open, but the brides couldn't get in. And you want to be you want to be schlepping your wedding gown through the center of town with all the people eating cotton candy and things. It just doesn't work for a lot of them. So most of them have kind of knuckled down, except the food ones, because they can make a little bit of money. But they don't love it either, honestly.
No, and again, it's been a problem, and also because it keeps getting bigger.
People love it.
Yeah.
People love it who aren't, you know, working in the downtown. It's a great festival, and the festival committee works incredibly hard to bring in cool food, cool crafts, lots of activities.
Herndon Festival is when? It's the
June 2nd through 5th.
And then there's the Wine Festival, right?
That's the Labor Day Wine Festival, yeah.
And there's Friday Night Live every Friday.
Friday Night Live every Friday when the whole town comes together. It's Herndon's living room.
Then there's the Farmers Market
Thursday mornings. Yeah, so Herndon is a happening town.
Good luck. Good luck.
You.
Folks, we'll be right back.
There's more than just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me.
There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. You know there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, Thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here. Thanks for coming back. I want to introduce you to my next guest. He works for an organization called OAR. It's Opportunity, Alternatives, and Resources. It's a really nice mission. It's a nonprofit. Their organization was established in 1971. And if you think about what they do, they provide services for, I believe it is the pre-release and post-incarceration individuals serving the Northern Virginia area. My next guest, Mr. Derwin Overton. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We met about a month or so ago, and I was really moved about the organization, and I wanted to thank you for coming on. I wanted you to share with the audience and the larger viewership, because I didn't know your organization existed. It's a great cause. It's a just and honorable thing that you're doing, and I just wanted to have you come on and talk about the organization and educate people on what it is you do.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for this opportunity. As you mentioned, OAR is Opportunities, Alternatives, and Resources, and we take care of and help a population in the community that I don't think people think of sometimes. I think people are aware that the police will arrest somebody, that the sheriff will take care of you, and probation will help them, but what is the next step and what happens after that is concerned? And that's where OAR comes in, and trying to help people to meet their basic needs from a cognitive perspective, and trying to help them to be successful and reintegrate back into the community. It doesn't take a lot of time in being incarcerated to lose your housing, family support, income, a lot of other things. So we find that it's very crucial to be there and help individuals to reacclimate back into the community.
That's, again, when we met, I was totally benighted to the whole, there's this segment of people that, I mean, normal people, if I were to lose everything, I could call up a family member, right? I could go to a friend. I have a support structure. But for a lot of people, that doesn't exist, right? And that is really what people need to get over.
They need support structure. They need cognitive restructuring, and what I mean by that is they need to think a little different. They need a different peer group. They need housing, which is a major challenge for individuals returning back from incarceration. If you take a person from an environment that they were in before, try to clean them all up and do all the great things that you could do for them and put them right back into the same environment that they came from, it's going to be a challenge for them. Substance abuse is another major issue and challenge that you have with people, and also mental health. One of the great things that are going on in the field in reentry and OAR is trying to do trauma-informed care, because it's a belief that most of the people have experienced some type of trauma, and until addressing that trauma, then you re-experience it over and over and over again. So looking at trauma-informed care is one of the best ways of trying to help individuals who've experienced that trauma of being incarcerated.
So how do you go about, I guess, reaching out or providing services or making people work? Because again, I like to think I'm informed, but I didn't know this was out there for folks. So.
Well, I guess that's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because if you were in the Fairfax County Adult Detention Center, you would know more about who we are, because we provide classes and services in the Fairfax County Adult Detention Center. We have over 120 active volunteers that teach multiple classes at the Fairfax County Adult Detention Center. And the way that our clients know about us is we start the interaction while they're incarcerated, and it continues once they're out into the community. The other aspect that's important as far as OAR is concerned is that there's a family piece. Everybody, or most of the people that are incarcerated, have a family member, and sometimes those families are impacted by the incarceration of the loved one. So we like to reach out to the family members and be able to help them also in mitigating the impact of being incarcerated, because that can be a loss of income, support, a father, a mother, a child in a household, or whatever the case may be. As far as individuals such as yourself and getting the message out, some of the things we like to do is opportunities such as now, of course, social media and other things that we use. We also have a fundraiser that we use in order to try to engage people. It's June 1st at the Winery at Bull Run, and we use that as an opportunity.
June 1st Winery, Bull Run.
Yes.
What time?
6:30 to 8:30.
6:30 p.m.
Yes.
8:30 p.m.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's a Wednesday evening and everything. Live jazz, opportunity to watch the sunset, all the wonderful scenarios or scenery out there. So it gives people a lot of opportunities to come in and hear about who we are. We'll have a client testimony come out and talk about who we are and what goes on.
Is that your largest fundraiser?
Yes.
Of the year?
Yes,
Okay.
that is our largest fundraiser.
Okay. So you can go to your Facebook page, your website, for details on that.
Definitely go to our Facebook page or to our website, oarfairfax.org.
Okay, oar.fairfax.org.
No, oarfairfax.org.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right, folks, make sure you go there.
Yes, please.
So how many people usually attend that fundraiser? How much?
We've been growing to about 80 people now, expecting more this year, because before we didn't have the whole winery, it was on the weekend. Now we have the entire winery with the jazz band, so people are free to go all over the property. So we're looking to grow it a little bit more as far as the attendance is concerned. But we're doing a slow build and trying to get more and more people engaged. It's interesting when I talk about reentry, sometimes I'm in situations where I'm competing with individuals as far as domestic violence or things that happen to children. So this isn't necessarily the prettiest mission that people want to look at, but I'm pretty sure that once they come out and they hear more about who we are and what we do, they'll want to engage, because this is really about community safety. People move or come into these areas because I think there's a great education system, there's great values in their home, but they also want to be safe in their community.
Sure.
And part of that safety in the community is meeting the needs of everybody in that community so that they can have their needs met. And that's where I think that OAR comes in, is meeting the needs of individuals in the community and helping them to become self-sufficient.
How do you, look, we talked a little bit about this, so I want to make sure the audience gets the difficulties and the challenges. Fairfax County is a very diverse county. I think there's 134 languages spoken in the homes of Fairfax County schools. So that means the population is somewhat representative of that. So you have all these different groups of people, different languages, different cultures. That's a monumental task to outreach to those folks. How are you attacking that? How do you hope to reach all the people that you can reach?
Well, that is a true struggle of OAR, because being a nonprofit, and sometimes in order to reach communities, you need the community to come and work with you in order to be able to reach them. I hesitate to believe that I know everything that every community needs, because from a cultural perspective, communities have different wants, different needs, different ways of being communicated to, different ways they want to be reached and engaged with. And that's been one of our challenges. The Latino community, it's been a challenge for us to figure out how do we engage more with that community so that we're able to be a help and a support. I know we have services and things that could be able to help and hopefully put people in a better position as far as employment is concerned, anger management classes, things like that, fatherhood and parenting classes, budgeting, keyboarding, computer skills. So we do a variety of classes, but then it's that language barrier or that aspect. No one wants to be dealt with if they're not going to be worked with in their own language and in their own way of doing things.
Well, it's a little bit difficult, and I think a previous guest mentioned she got a ticket while in Italy. You know, but there was this panic, right? And then it's just natural to read stuff. My mom, God bless her, she can read English, but her comprehension's far more better in Spanish, right? So I agree with you. I think people gravitate towards their natural sort of mindset, and that if I can read something in my own language, I'll be better off.
Right, right. And the other thing I'm hoping to be able to do is eventually we want to have a town hall meeting or a listening session. And that's really just to find out what are the needs of the individuals in the community so that we can better serve the community and take the services that they need to them. And that's another important aspect of OAR. Our office is located by the judicial compound where the courts and the adult detention center is located. And because of that, it's a central location. But if you think about the vastness of Fairfax County and people in the South County area, people in the North County area, you're talking a couple of hour bus ride in order to get from South County
if
to
you're
our
in Mount
agency.
Vernon,
it's going to take you all day.
That's a day trip.
Yeah, and all day to get back. So what we're really trying to figure out now is how do we take the services to the people, because I think that is the most important element. that we can do. If you could minimize a person getting on a bus for 2.5 hours but make it a 10-minute walk or a 5-minute ride to come in and get services, they're more likely to want to come see you and get the services. So that's another venture that we're looking into.
Here's a crazy idea. We have video conferencing technology at each of the stations or the supervisor offices in access that way or something, because typically right there they have a holding area. If you go to the supervisor's offices, maybe set up a little office, virtual conferencing or something, you reach more people.
I would love to consider that type of suggestion, and those are the type of things that I'm open to. Well, please do, please do.
No, I really enjoy having those types of discussions, because I think this is such a worthy cause. So.
Right. Well, you've just hit on something that I think is very important. I like to get people that aren't necessarily very familiar with what I do to come in and talk to me about it, because I think that they're innovative and creative in the way that they look at it, because they don't have the mental barriers of, well, the community might think of this, or I ran into this obstacle. So it really works out a lot better when you have that opportunity to have somebody such as yourself who has no barriers, because you don't know any of the things that we've been through or a lot of the things that we tried. And usually I find that to be very creative and useful for me.
Well, that's certainly a good discussion for the fundraiser, right?
Definitely.
To ask for ideas or suggestions and things like that.
Yeah, I have to keep that in mind. That's something that I wouldn't necessarily say that we've done is solicited feedback or anything from people, but I believe the town hall meetings and the listening sessions that we're going to provide will also help, and we hope to have them in multiple areas of the county and go from there.
Yeah, I think just demographically, if you look at the county, I mean, certainly you won't have a big issue in McLean. I'm in Drainesville, so I can say it. But there are parts of Herndon in that Drainesville corridor that probably could use some outreach.
Right.
The same thing being said about Mount Vernon and Springfield and Mason. Those districts have huge, diverse clusters of people that, I will tell you, I've worked polls and I've done outreach there. There's a lot of people that still speak their native language.
Right. Well, and that's very important, because it's essential that we don't necessarily put it on one community or one place, and we look at how it's spread around, because another thing that we do is we also are a provider of domestic violence certification program called Batter Intervention, and because of that, one of the things that I realize when it comes to domestic violence, it doesn't necessarily have a specific location or a specific place. It's usually all throughout Fairfax County. So within that, our outreach and ability to serve the entire area is very important, because as I said earlier, we all want to be safe in our communities.
Sure. So in order to do the work that you're going to do going forward, I want to just make sure everyone understands you got a big time fundraiser coming up.
Big time fundraiser.
June 1st.
June 1st.
OARfairfax.org.
Yes.
Okay.
Winery at Bull Run.
I'm into grape juice. I love all variations of grape juice. So we want to make sure we drive some folks there.
Absolutely.
Any other points of contact, social, Facebook?
Well, we have our Facebook page on the OARfairfax.org, and we also have our website page. We're on Instagram and all the social media aspects that are available for people in order to reach out to us.
Okay. Well, this is, Mr. Overton, this is a great initiative. I certainly want to thank you for coming on. And folks at home, please make sure you go to OARfairfax.org. And we'll see you at that winery. I'll buy the first round. I'll be back.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged. Where teachers have more time to teach. And students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has the drug problem now? Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back with our last segment, certainly not the least. My next guest, dear friend of mine, Frank Anderson. He is a political activist currently serving as the executive director at the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. He's a graduate of George Mason University. Frank began his political career as an anti-war movement guy in the early 2000s. He does have a prior felony conviction. Frank experienced some difficulty with his rights to vote being restored, and thus became a advocate for this initiative. Frank, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Cesar.
We've talked about this many times.
Yes, we have.
All right. Is it getting easier or harder, or how are things going?
I think it gets easier, and part of the reason is that the public opinion on the issue is actually improving. In just a matter of the past 5 years, I've seen a lot of change.
It used to be like a scab picking initiative to get your rights restored, right? I mean, it's different now. Governor McAuliffe just recently took some action. Enlighten the folks on what that was.
Right, so Governor McAuliffe did what advocates like us and organizations all over the state have been asking him to do for years, which is issue a sweeping blanket restoration of rights to everybody in Virginia who's been convicted of a felony. And violent.
And violent, both.
Yeah, anybody with any felony conviction in Virginia or in another state and you live in Virginia, your rights are now restored. That includes the right to vote, the right to serve on a jury, notary, public, and its right to run for office.
So they have to go to jury duty as well.
Yes, I actually had the privilege of doing that.
If we have to do it, yeah, sure.
I did it last year.
Oh, did you really? Good stuff. Yeah. So what sort of things have been done to make it easier? Because I know, maybe enlighten the folks on kind of your journey.
Sure. Sure. Well, I started out, I had a conviction back in 1998 of burglary. I didn't get involved politically until some years later, and I learned about the process for restoration of rights. It used to be very onerous. You had to get basically fill out a petition begging the governor for your right to vote back. And you had to get it notarized and get all your criminal records together to put the exact sentence that you were sentenced under. It was so onerous that a lot of people didn't even bother to apply. But once I tried it, I was actually turned down the first time because I had traffic tickets on my record. Then
traffic tickets?
Yes, traffic tickets.
Okay, so speeding. And
yeah, moving violations, not criminal.
I don't drive 55, just to be clear. So technically I'm breaking the law at 56, right?
Sure.
So, okay, all right. So.
Yeah, but then, there started to be some movement towards making things better. So Governor Kane started by increasing the number of people who were restored more than anybody before him. Yes, he did.
Good man.
And now U.S. Senator. And then Governor McDonnell, to everybody's surprise, he reversed course from what he had planned to do and made the application process even better. So he shortened the waiting period for reapplying. He made the
Did he
form shorter.
Foresee something happening in his future, maybe?
Yeah, good question.
I mean,
if his conviction holds, then he too
he'll
will be
have to
eligible
go through
for
the process.
Yeah,
oh my God. Irony is pretty ironic sometimes.
Yes, it is.
So he made it a little bit better, right?
And then Governor McAuliffe came and he got rid of what they call as an application. So now it's no longer an application. And they said, okay, just give us your information, we'll restore you. Wow. Then just on April 22nd was when this big momentous event happened. I was so thrilled to hear about this, the blanket restoration of rights for everybody who served the time, completed their sentence, and paid their debt back to society.
How many people in the Commonwealth did that affect?
Well, they're saying it's about 200,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big freaking deal. That's great. I mean, look, you've been working this issue for
some 5 years, 6 years now. Yeah, but the fight's not over. As we might have heard, the Republicans are trying to challenge the governor's order.
Why would anyone do it? Forget the political labels for a minute. What's the contrarian view? What?
Well, there's two things. Okay. One is that they don't believe that the governor has the authority to do it.
Okay.
And so they're saying that under the Virginia Constitution, that the Constitution doesn't allow that.
Okay, all right.
Now, the language is pretty clear. It gives the governor sweeping power to do this, to what they call remove political disabilities. And it doesn't say you have to do it one person at a time. They're referring to other language in the Constitution that they're saying that it makes it one person at a time. I don't think the courts are going to see it that way.
Okay.
Their second argument is, okay, this doesn't say anything about paying your fines. So they're saying you have to wait until you've paid all your fines. And some people, I met one ex-offender who owed more than $45,000. I mean, there's no way that she could have ever paid it back before getting her rights back. So this would affect her in a great way.
So the contrarian view is, Governor, you don't have the authority, and you must include all fines before you get to vote.
Yeah.
So if someone has a speeding ticket, if someone has a DUI conviction, do you lose your right to vote if you have those offenses?
I think that a DUI can be a felony if it's a later offense. Yeah, it's possible.
But reckless driving, or you don't?
That's a misdemeanor, but we have the 3 strikes law. So you can get a felony conviction without ever committing a felony.
Habitual offender.
Right.
And all that stuff. Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to continue to advocate, me and anybody that joins with me. There's a coalition of groups out there.
So what do you need to kind of get this out, this sort of need to the people? 200,000 people, I assume that's a good guesstimate.
Yeah.
Do they know their rights have been restored?
Not necessarily. Okay. So there's a lot of efforts underway to try to reach out to these people. So there's public records available. Folks are working to track down those who are convicted of felonies, which of course traditionally ex-offenders don't necessarily have a stable living environment as much as other people do. So it's hard to find people. But using existing records and what they have on hand, reach out to folks, go out into the communities where you can reach the most people at once, and also places like online and social media to just try to get people's attention about this issue. There's a place where you can actually go to find out if your rights have been restored. You just go to commonwealth.virginia.gov, and you can look there and just type in your information. It'll tell you right away that your rights have been restored. Yeah, so we can spread that
public
around.
record.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what other sort of big time challenges are you facing? Is this just a people, time, money, resource issue? What are some of the challenges?
Yeah, I think it's the matter of outreach. You know, the resources that are available to government entities like the Secretary of the Commonwealth's office are limited. They can only talk to so many people at a time. Official information gets out there, may get in the media, but you need to be a kind of untraditional to get to some people. So it takes people, takes volunteers and resources and people willing to go and talk to their neighbors and their families.
So this is really a grassroots effort.
Yes, it is.
You're good at grassroots stuff. So what, is it a financial burden, or is it?
You mean the burden of getting the word out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it, but I think it's a matter of just people and people coordinating together. You've got so many different organizations like nonprofits, political parties, campaigns, individuals who are trying to reach out to folks. And I think that a coordinated effort, as much as legally possible, would be really beneficial. And then you could have people deployed into as many areas as possible, going to grocery stores and to other communities and talking to folks there.
Well, what do you hope to see in this next sort of like kind of 6 months or 5 years or down the road? I mean,
well, I hope to see a great increase in voter registrations and to see that this governor's action is actually paid off and that we get more people registering to vote, not just registering, but also voting this November and beyond when we have a governor's race next year, for example. All of this could be in peril. If the next governor comes along and says, I'm going to undo that executive order, then suddenly these folks who had their rights restored could be taken away again. which happened in Florida.
When's it supposed to go to court? Has there been a time? I mean,
the Republican Party of Virginia has retained a lawyer who worked for the Reagan administration, and he hasn't filed suit yet. I think their challenge is they want to find a plaintiff, somebody who can claim that they are somehow harmed by this action, which I have a hard time seeing.
Wait. They want to find a plaintiff against the restoration action.
Yeah. Somebody who said that
they... harmed.
Right. Somebody who was somehow harmed by the fact that more people are gaining their civil rights.
Right. Yeah, let me know when that happens.
I'll be keeping an eye on it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, no, in all seriousness. So, yeah, that just sounds pretty out there. I don't know. Are they afraid of like fraud or I mean?
Well, there are some of them who are saying that the governor's action itself was already voter fraud. So I think that there's some people out there who believe that voter fraud is happening all over the place and that it's really widespread. Yeah. As a voting rights advocate, I'm always really keen to allegations of voter fraud because the more that you claim people are fraudulently voting, the more you're trying to stop people from voting, right. Especially when fraud is not happening.
Well, that's a great point because I've had a couple of people talk about that. I can't find where the fraud is happening at the polls. Now, I grant you, when people register to vote, there may be some shenanigans there where you've got bogus names on the rolls. But that doesn't then translate or equate to those people trying to en masse vote at the polls.
Yeah, it's really hard to imagine how that could happen because, for one thing, voter impersonation fraud is the most difficult to pull off. Yeah. And secondly, it has the least benefit. Right. The best you can do is get one more vote out of it.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. It would have to be like busloads of people going from precinct to precinct to precinct to sway an election.
To pretend to be an existing voter.
Right.
And to pretend and to go and try to vote in that person's place. Right. Not knowing whether or not that person's already cast a ballot.
Right. Yeah. But I guess the conspiracy would be that now I've got a bunch of felon names. I'm trying to think outside the box. So I've got all these felons. I'll register them all, and they're going to go from whatever precinct they're registered or not registered in to just go vote en masse.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you do it? Logistically, how would you do that?
Well, you'd have to come up with all of their social security numbers. Yeah. Because the Virginia voter registration form requires that.
So they have to be a U.S. citizen. They have to have a social security ID. They have to have proof of address. Right? You can't have a P.O. box.
Well, now you need a photo ID.
You need a photo ID. So given that, how are giving rights then, I'm still, and if folks, for folks that are the contrarian view in this, please come on and explain this to me. So I've got those 4 pieces. How do I then commit the fraud?
Yeah, it would be really, really hard to pull off. I don't see it happening.
well, Frank, keep doing what you're doing because I think it's a just and honorable cause that you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And I do appreciate you coming on the show. We've been friends for a long time, and I like having you on and having this issue discussed.
Thank you so much.
Folks, that's our show. Thank you again. We'll be back.